Hello, I'm Pateman, Client Relationship Director at LaunchPad. Today I'm going to talk about every TA team's biggest decision, what to do about their ATS. You may have frustrations with your ATS. You may really want to change it. You may even think it's the underlying cause of your biggest recruitment challenges. And you may be right, but not for the reasons you might think. Today I want to look at why many TA teams aren't happy with their ATS. I then want to give you an alternative to switching providers that's more likely to get you the results you want faster, cheaper, and without the dreaded burden of change. And finally, I want to help you consider when it actually does make sense to find a new system. But first, let me introduce you to LaunchPad. Since 2012, we've been helping large employers improve their high volume, early careers, and BAU hiring processes through our recruitment automation tools. What started out as a simple video interviewing tool has now evolved into a highly flexible recruitment automation platform designed specifically to meet the challenges of high volume recruitment. Now, we all know that an ATS is the most important part of your TA tech stack, being the main system your recruiters rely on to turn requisitions into hires. But ATS have evolved from their humble beginnings into far more sophisticated systems, which are being asked to do a lot more than they were ever designed for. Most large organizations have an ATS, although surprisingly not all, and many are on second or even third generation systems. And according to a study by HR.com and countless conversations I've had with customers, a lot of us aren't happy with what we've got. And the reason's simple. Recruitment looks very different to what it did when the first ATS hit the scene. The pace of change is getting faster, and requirements vary massively, not just between industries or companies, but even within an organization. All too often, too much is expected from an ATS, changing it from a single system of record into a single point of failure. So TA leaders and consultants, and obviously ATS sales teams, often prescribe changing ATS as the best or even only course of action. Rip your current system out, replace it with one that solves your current issues, problem solved. I want to challenge this notion, or at least suggest an alternative. But before I do, let's take a look at some of the common conclusions when we review our ATS. Most recruiters think their ATS does a pretty good job of tracking candidates, so no surprises there. And they also rate their ability to be configured to match internal processes. But where they often come up short is in delivering a good enough candidate experience, handling the complexity or automation of decision-making required, and integrating with technologies that can plug these gaps. And so it makes sense that the key items on most TA teams' wish lists are better candidate experience, assessment tools and AI capabilities to improve and automate decisions, improved integration abilities, and more flexibility when it comes to reporting. It's natural to conclude that if your ATS doesn't have what you need and can't easily or inexpensively build or integrate those capabilities, your only option is to go to market. But the problem with this outlook is that it assumes that recruitment and recruitment technology is a static thing, that it's somehow reached the end of its evolution, and therefore that finding an ATS that solves your current needs will also address your future ones. And that's simply not true. You only have to think about the explosion of recruitment technology we've witnessed over the last 5-10 years to get a sense of how rapidly the landscape's changing. And changing ATS is not for the faint of heart. The reasons are obvious. It costs a lot of money. It takes a long time to select, implement, and refine a new system. It's a resource-hungry exercise, and it comes with significant change management challenges. In fact, changing ATS can dominate 1 or even 2 years of your roadmap, by which time the landscape and your requirements have moved on. So I want to suggest an alternative way of thinking about the problem. Rather than change your ATS, perhaps you should change the role it plays in your technology stack. To build on that point, let's move on to some tips for getting more out of your existing system. First up, don't expect your ATS to do everything you need by itself. The the reality is that not even the leading systems have everything out of the box, and nor should they. Let's remind ourselves that ATS are designed first and foremost to help you track candidates through a process. And even though their capabilities are far broader than that now, you don't need your ATS to solve every problem you face. Which leads me on to the second tip. If you have a problem your ATS can't address, throwing money at custom development is unlikely to be the right answer. Putting costs aside, ATS are designed in a specific way for a specific reason. So customizing one aspect may create new issues further down the road. And that will make it even harder to solve your future challenges. Another tip is to try, wherever possible, to look at your technology stack and processes as a whole. Many separately labeled projects, like candidate experience, reporting, and process automation, are interconnected. And so problems can arise when you try and fix them one at a time, or through a series of sticky plaster point solutions. And finally, given that I'm telling you don't need to change your ATS and that you shouldn't build your way out of challenges, your focus and budget should instead be on strategically integrating technologies that can have a much bigger impact than a simple switch out. LaunchPad is one that integrates with over 30 ATS. It's a recruitment automation platform designed to help you transform your recruitment processes and candidate experience without needing to change your ATS. This helps TA teams achieve change faster and with less resource and cost implications, and be better placed to make additional changes to meet future needs. The platform can manage the end-to-end digital candidate journey and allows you to create a level of experience, assessment rigor, and process automation not possible on your ATS alone, while allowing you to maintain that ATS as your system of record. Different workflows can be set up for individual requisitions, seasonal campaigns, or evergreen roles, and can leverage both our market-leading assessment automation tools as well as best-of-breed third-party technology. To deliver great experience and the right outcomes at scale requires 4 levels of automation. First, you have the automation of simple tasks like capturing information, sending notifications, and video interviewing. Then you have to automate rules-based or if this, then that decisions, which can be used for screening, assessment, and automating steps like interview scheduling. The next layer involves automating complex decision-making. The best example of this being the use of AI to review a video interview, which involves analysing unstructured primary data, i.e. what the candidate actually says, to measure a candidate's competencies or behaviours. And finally, there's experience automation. For recruitment automation to work at all, you need candidates to participate and to feel good about the process. And we believe that, used in the right way, recruitment automation can actually improve candidate experience. It allows you to create a process that's user-friendly, seamless, and without the breaks that come with manual intervention. Workflows can be built to give all candidates meaningful feedback, and through a combination of predictive analytics and self-scheduling, your highest potential candidates can progress from application through to booking their final interview stage with no manual intervention, all while being rewarded along the way with content that really brings the opportunity to life. Let me talk you through a couple of real-life examples. A large telecoms provider wanted to transform their volume recruitment process to drive down costs, improve recruitment KPIs, and deliver a candidate experience more in keeping with their consumer brand. One of the key challenges they faced was designing a good enough process for volume recruitment within the confines of their ATS, leaving them with a 90% dropout rate and a resource-heavy approach. LaunchPad allowed them to keep Taleo as their system of record, but manage the front-end experience for candidates, providing them with a much more engaging application and assessment process with higher levels of automation. And since deploying LaunchPad, they've managed to reduce cost per hire by over 40%. Then there was a bank which was trying to cut costs across the entire business, and the TA team was asked to do their bit to help. This meant significantly reducing the size of the team while maintaining the same quality and scale of assessment and experience. However, they were in the process of deploying a new ATS as part of a wider ERP rollout. This meant that they needed to create a process that could have an immediate impact whilst also being portable for when they changed systems. LaunchPad helped them to roll out an automated assessment process which minimized recruiter touchpoints and reduced the overall resource requirements, allowing the bank to reduce their TA headcount by 30%. Now, in this session, I've obviously made the case that changing your ATS isn't always the answer. But of course, there will be times when it's something you just have to do. Sometimes it's out of your hands. You might be using a legacy system. Your company might be rolling out an HRIS or ERP which comes with its own ATS. Due to a merger or acquisition, you might have to move systems, or you might work for a global company that's trying to get all countries on a single ATS. But there are also times when it does make sense to consider making a change. And that's when your ATS is either unwilling or unable to support your strategic goals. When reviewing whether or not you should change ATS, I recommend that you first speak with your existing provider. It's worth finding out what their roadmap is and checking it aligns with your goals, or at least addresses some of the challenges you currently face. Ask them about their integration capabilities. What APIs do they have? What experience do they have in building integrations against other supplier APIs? And how do they make decisions about integration? And finally, make sure you understand their philosophy. Some ATS want to buy or build alternatives to existing recruitment technology in order to expand their revenue share. But this approach is likely to limit both your choice, but also the speed and cost of any improvements. Other ATS know their wheelhouse and take an integration-led approach, either through the provision of a marketplace or through strategic partnerships. Whether you're evaluating your existing ATS or actively looking for a new one, it's worth thinking ahead. It might be tempting to buy the most complete ATS out there, but if it doesn't have an integration and partner mindset, your future processes will be limited by their future development. Thank you for your time. You can find out more about the LaunchPad recruitment automation platform by contacting me with the email on screen or through our website. And don't forget to download the guide.